Karl Friedrich August Gützlaff, anglicised as Charles Gutzlaff, was a German missionary to the Far East, notable as one of the first Protestant missionaries in Bangkok, Thailand and in Korea. He wrote widely read books, such as Journal of Three Voyages along the coast of China in 1831, 1832 and 1833, with notices of Siam, Korea, and the Loo-Choo Islands. He served as interpreter for British diplomatic missions during the First Opium War. Gützlaff was one of the first Protestant missionaries in China to wear Chinese clothing. Gützlaff Street in Hong Kong was named after him. Born at Piritz, Pomerania, he was apprenticed to a sadder in Stettin, but was able to secure admission to Pedagogum in Halle, and associated himself with the Janaka Institute in Berlin. The Netherlands Missionary Society sent him to Java in 1826, where he learned Chinese. Gützlaff left the society in 1828, and went first to Singapore, then to Bangkok with Jacob Tomlin of the London Missionary Society, where he worked on a translation of the Bible into Thai. He made a brief trip to Singapore in December 1829, where he married a single English missionary, Maria Newell. The two returned to Bangkok in February 1830, where they worked on a dictionary of Cambodian and Lao. Before the work was completed, however, Maria died in childbirth, leaving a considerable inheritance. Gützlaff married again, this time to Mary Wanstall, in 1834. The second Mrs. Gützlaff ran a school and a home for the blind in Macau. She died in 1849 in Singapore, and was buried there. Gützlaff's third marriage was to Dorothy Gabriel in England in 1850. In Macau, and later in Hong Kong, Gützlaff worked on a Chinese translation of the Bible, published a Chinese-language magazine, East and Western Monthly Magazine, and wrote Chinese-language books on practical subjects. In 1834 he published Journal of Three Voyages along the coast of China in 1831, 1832 and 1833. Along the way he handed out tracts which had been prepared by another pioneer missionary to China, Robert Morrison. In 1840, a group of 4 people cooperated to translate the Bible into Chinese. The translation of the Hebrew part was done mostly by Gützlaff, with the exception that the Pentateuch and the Book of Joshua were done by the group collectively. This translation, completed in 1847, is well known due to its adoption by the revolutionary peasant leader Hong Jiquan of the Taiping Shango movement as some of the reputed early doctrines of the organization. This Bible translation was a version correct and faithful to the original. In the 1830s Gützlaff was persuaded by William Jordan of Jordan, Matheson and Amp Co. to interpret for the ship's captains during coastal smuggling of opium, with the assurance that this would allow him to gather more converts. Gützlaff later assisted in negotiations during the First Opium War of 1839–42. In response to the Chinese government's unwillingness to allow foreigners into the interior, he founded a school for native missionaries in 1844 and trained nearly 50 Chinese during its first 4 years. Unfortunately, Gützlaff's ideas outran his administrative ability. He wound up being victimized by his own native missionaries. They reported back to him glowing accounts of conversions and New Testament sold. While some of Gützlaff's native missionaries were genuine converts, others were opium addicts who never traveled to the places they claimed. Eager for easy money, they simply made up conversion reports and took the New Testaments which Gützlaff provided and sold them back to the printer who resold them to Gützlaff. The scandal erupted while Gützlaff was in Europe on a fundraising tour. Shattered by the exposure of this fraud, Gützlaff died in Hong Kong in 1851. The Chinese Evangelization Society which he formed lived on, however, to send out Hudson Taylor, who founded the successful China Inland Mission. Taylor called Gützlaff the grandfather of the China Inland Mission Society for the diffusion of useful knowledge in China. On the 29th of November 1834, Gützlaff became a member of the newly formed Society for the Diffusion of Useful Knowledge in China. The committee members represented a wide section of the business and missionary community in Canton. James Matheson, David Oliphant, William Wetmore, James Innes, Thomas Fox, Elijah Coleman Bridgman, and John Robert Morrison. John Francis Davis, at that time Chief Superintendent of British Trade in China, was made an honorary member. Influences. Gützlaff's writing influenced both Dr. Livingstone and Karl Marx. David Livingstone read Gützlaff's appeal to the churches of Britain and America on behalf of China and decided to become a medical missionary. Unfortunately, it was 1840, and the outbreak of the First Opium War made China too dangerous for foreigners. So the London Missionary Society sent him to Africa, where Henry Morton Stanley would find him working hard in Ujiji, Tanzania. While Gützlaff was fundraising in Europe in 1850, Karl Marx went to hear him speak in London. He also read Gützlaff's many writings, which became sources for Karl Marx articles on China for the London Times and the New York Daily Tribune in the 1840s and 1850s, all of which are anti-imperialist and anti-religion works. Karl Friedrich August Journal of Three Voyages along the coast of China in 1831, 1832 and 1833, with notices of Siam, Korea, and the Loo-Choo Islands. A Sketch of Chinese History, Ancient and Modern, Volume 1, Volume 2. Karl Friedrich Gützlaff, China Opened, or A Display of the Topography, History, etc. of the Chinese Empire, revised by A. Reed. Volume 1, China Opened, or A Display of the Topography, History, Customs, Manners, Arts, Manufactures, Commerce, Literature, Religion, Jurisprudence, etc. of the Chinese Empire. London, Smith, Elder and Amp. Co. 1838. Volume 2. Gützlaff, Karl F.A. Notices on Chinese Grammar, Part 1. Orthography and Etymology, Batavia, under pseudonym Philosinensis. Life of Ta Okwang, late Emperor of China. London, Smith, Elder and Amp. Co. 1852. Bibliography. Lutz, Jesse Gregory. Opening China, Karl F. A. Gützlaff and Sino-Western Relations, 1827 to 1852. Grand Rapids, Michigan, William B. Edmonds Pub. Co. 2008. ISBN 0802831880-X. Hermann Schleiter, Der China Missioner Karl Gützlaff und sein Heimatbasis. Studien über das Interesse des Abendlands und der Mission des China-Pioniers Karl Gützlaff und über seinen Einsatz als Missionsworker. ISBN 9140043738. Winfried Charlotte Gützlaff's Bericht über drei Reisen in Denzi Provinz und Chinas 1831–1833, ISBN 3-93437613-4. Thoralf Klein, Reinhard Zollner, Karl Gützlaff und das Christentum in Ostasien, ein Missioners Vision den Kulturen. ISBN 3-80500520-2. Whaley, Arthur. The Opium War Through Chinese Eyes. Stanford University Press. ISBN 9780804706117.